Whether you're living full-time in a camper van like me, or you have a Land Rover geared out for weekend adventure, or you're like this guy that has a truck camper that is dialed right out to spend 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months doing some epic backcountry road trips, I think we're all doing the same thing. Throughout my travels in Canada, I always seem to be meeting people all over the place, doing everything from full-time van life to overlanding and sleeping in the back of their pickup trucks. This guy has been in one of my videos before. I ran into him in the backcountry here in Squamish, BC, and we got to shoot his truck and he went driving off. So I reached out to him and said, hey man, because you're sleeping in such a tiny, small space, why don't we get together and film a little tour of your off-road rig?
Overland rig, what? Yeah.
Overland rig. Let's do it. Oh, now this is a badass rig. I remember the very first time I spotted this guy in the backcountry, I was like, oh, this dude is not messing around. He's got a YouTube channel called Gear Into Adventure. This thing is built for fun.
Hi, my name is Victor. I run the Gear Into Adventure channel. I got into overlanding about 5 years ago. It kind of came rapidly for me. And before I knew it, this truck started to build into this ginormous thing, completely not following any plans. It just kind of started happening. But let's start with a little bit of my insight here. Here in the back we got my sliders. What I did basically is, instead of buying pre-made deck system that usually they have, I forgot what the name is, that thing is 9 inches tall, so it means I wouldn't be able to sit inside as much as I can right now. So I decided to create my own platform. Took me like a week and a half to get all the wood, and wood is expensive apparently. When I went to Home Depot, I spent probably like $1,000 just building this thing and all these little screws and things. But yeah, so I wanted to carry all my overland swag in here. And I'm not sure if your audience knows what overlanding is, but it's basically long distance, long time travel, self-sufficient. You could picture something like African safari, those type cars that need to be out there in the bush somewhere for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, have enough of everything to survive if something happens. So in here I got recovery straps, winch controllers, tree saver. You use that to wrap around the tree. It has slightly different material, a little bit safer because the tree is coarse. If you wrap normal cable around it, there's going to be some friction, it may rip actually under tension after a while. Then yeah, some more instruments I got here, spare cables, fins, ratchet straps. You never know when you're gonna need those. Well, you always do need them at some point. Liquids, chainsaw liquids, this kind of thing, and a line anchor. I know not many people probably don't know what that is. So in a situation where you don't have trees, let's say you're in a deserty situation, and I actually got it before going to Baja, Mexico. I took this truck twice on Christmas to Baja for 3 weeks, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. But because before that I already stuck in a few places, needed to use winch, I'm like, oh, it's desert, there's nothing to winch to. This is a Smithy built Wasp version. It can do up to 8,000 pounds the load, which is close to my truck weight. Ideally, just like for winches and all the cable rating, you need to have a buffer more than whatever weight of your vehicle. So if your vehicle is, let's say, 10,000 pounds, you probably want a winch that's 15,000 pounds, just so you have the gears have a little bit of extra for the pressure, and same as cables, they need to be better. Section here we got tools. There's everything: electrical fuses, duct tapes, instant glues, wiring, all sorts of things. And actually one of the most used tools in my arsenal among them is like hammers, wire cutters, plumbing. I've used pretty much all of it. at one point or another. Pliers, zip ties. Zip ties save a day all the time. People use them for everything. I even tried to fix my roof rack with those. Didn't work. Yeah, the most used items: instant Gorilla Glue and duct tape, like that Gorilla tape. So many things I already fixed around my truck just with that stuff. Another thing here, this little compartment, I store butane tanks and propane tanks in here. Usually fits like 4 plus 2 butane tanks. Kind of nifty. Whatever I don't have here, I store in the roof. I always have extras in there. This is my fridge. It's the Matic. I think it's 35 quart, not a big fridge, but I like it. I got this platform actually for free. Good deal. Usually it's like $200, ridiculous. But of course I can do that, which I never actually do, because usually it's like my little camper. I can cook inside. I do everything inside. I don't need to do this, but yeah, that's pretty much set up. If you needed to do that, you can. Because even with canopy closed, I can still raise it and reach everything being inside. Just grab anything I want. On top of it here, I got my spices rack, because why not? I had a little space here, and yeah, just decided to utilize it for that. So in here I got my butane stove. I use it both for heating and for cooking. Butane stove only works above 0 Celsius. After that, below that, it starts to really struggle. So for struggling times in the cold, like what Chrome had the other week at -30, well, actually my even body heater wouldn't work in that temperature. Yeah, so cooking is not really a problem. I can always open the lid. Some people comment like, oh, what about all the fumes and everything? It's okay. Just open lid, open windows, it's fine. And also using it for heat in such small space. Also I have windows slightly open, and I do have here monoxide monitor. You gotta have these things. And actually I did bust myself a couple of times where this thing just went crazy. Got a little drunk, passed out, and I had boiling water here with crabs, and yeah, I wake up, there is like fumes, everything smells like crab. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? This thing is going off. Good. Okay, and here is my little table pretty much. It's kind of just a nice folding thing. It's Walmart or something like that. This is where I cook, do all my cutting. It's my table. And here I got, this is actually addition I did like a year ago. It kind of happens over time. I had this truck for years. It obviously wasn't like that to begin with, so it just kind of, you know, grows as you experience. As I went places and I discovered slowly, like, oh, maybe I could do this. Like, and slowly you do this creature comforts build. This is just all my cutlery, things like that. So this is my coffee rack. All that stuff is here. I don't have to come out and at campfire in the morning in the cold cooking. I just have my heat here going. It's cooking plus 15 always. I'm in t-shirt, doesn't matter what's outside. I'm just doing my coffee here. Great. In here I have full cooking pots and all that stuff, like house size, not camping size, because it's a full size truck, so I can have big things. On this side is basically my toiletry, right? Toothbrushes, things like that, sunscreen, bug sprays, things of that nature, morning stuff. In here you can see tons of instant noodles, because sometimes I don't like to go shopping when I leave home, and it's just something there. I don't have to, if I don't feel like cooking, I have a bunch of stuff in here. I also have a tire recovery kit here, RB, to plug in puncture tires, that sort of thing. It just kind of nicely fits in here. Okay, in here I have battery booster. I think it's Genie something 500 shower, which is solar. You just hang it on the side of a car, let it heat up. I don't use it too often. Well, I do use it on big trips when I do like month or 2 month long trips. Then I have to. Camping, I don't. Oils and that sort of thing, you know, random stuff. Okay. Also, what helps, I have here a fan. When I'm cooking, I actually can turn it on and blow the air outside. And also in the summertime, it really helps, you know, like put it on yourself, nice. Generally, I kind of sit like this here, so you can see I still have, like it's a lotus position, it's fine. I don't have to go kind of like this. This all this steel here, you probably haven't seen before. It's all custom made. So what happened is, in my first trip to Baja, I had normal roof crossbars, Thule crossbars on the truck, sitting on the canopy. And on bumps, all of that collapsed. So for 10 days, I just had to cram everything in here, return to Canada. And when I came back, I decided I want a roof set up, everything, so I never lose it again. Went to a custom fabrication shop in BC, it's called Big Country Customs. Gave them design that I wanted. I do 3D for my work, so I can design things. And they did this, but I also made it so that it's, besides being functional outside, I can make it homey inside. I made this, I told them to do this steel plate so I can exactly mount all the shelving and things on the side. And it also serves as protection, like if a bear or something wants to get in or whatever, it's okay, I got steel here. This whole custom thing is very heavy. I had to like forklift it on top. The way it works, pillars from inside go through the drilled holes in the canopy. There's spacing in between because two pieces need to flex differently. This is rain cover, and yeah, there's no way the canopy would be able to support this roof rack. Because I arrive late everywhere, it's kind of been the tendency. Lights, lots of lights became a thing for me pretty much since the beginning build of the truck. The light bar, the previous rack, I had lights, and I just relocated them here. You know, backlight, illuminated things here, sideways so you can see what's in the bush. You know, this way, because it's a big truck and it's hard to see when you're solo where you're maneuvering, especially at night. Just recently, I had a burglary in my canopy, and I decided to get one of these solar-powered motion sensor lights. Just when it's parked in a civilization, but it's proven to be absolutely amazing at camping situations. Well, scares the animals away, but also you put it on, you just walk around the truck, and yeah, it's getting illuminated as you progress. Alright, here on the roof, this is my deck. Actually, in summer, sometimes I even fish from here. If I'm parked close to the water, I just put a chair here, camping chair. This is my table. I have some food going and just fishing. Awesome. Or do some photography from it. And in here I have max racks. I lost one in the recovery with some people, so I got some cheaper stuff. Track Pro or something like that. Shovel mount. I have another smaller shovel because you can't go wrong with shovels. But you kind of need a big one if you do constant job somewhere, digging out. The small one, your back is gonna hurt just from working at. Trasher, usually people have it on outside on tire carriers. I can carry loads here, so I can store wood here sometimes, this and that. What you're touching below right now is the Rotopacks. I like this system. It's expensive, but it's good because you can mount it in different ways. Right now I'm not in a long journey mode, so I only have one, but when I'm going on a month trip, especially third world country like Mexico or whatever, then I would have here stacked another two, and on the side here I would have another three, so I have 5 total, because you never know where you're gonna get gas. And then I would relocate this stuff somewhere. So in this pod I have chainsaw, but basically bulky light things, chainsaws, chairs, body heater, butane, like extra bulky things. And in here I got 200 watts of solar. It does the job. In Canada it's not the most efficient setup because we don't get the light here, the angle, but generally it gives me enough to power the things I need. Alright, because this roof rack is very heavy and that wooden platform and everything, this is actually a Ram 1500, it's not heavy duty. So to compensate all this weight, I had to have airbags installed, otherwise I would just be sitting on an axle, and this is just not how you do it. So the way it works, so I can still have my off-road articulation. So the airbags are actually sitting in a cradle. This is a cradle. It's not attached to the axle, so when truck articulates, they hang in the air. But when it bumps, right, it just lands in there. Increase and decrease the load. So I need to go down for like maybe 50 psi to have more off-roadiness, articulation, a little softer ride. and at higher it becomes more like a dump truck in the city, very like stiff. I have everything wired, all my lights, CB radio, hood, airbags, rear front view camera into this S-Pod system, which is pretty cool. You know, it's like using an iPad almost. I'm sitting on 35 by 12.5 by 17-inch rim tires. I started with 37-inch tires when this truck just got built, when I had a lift. And it's a mistake. For overlanding, really, you don't need 37-inch tires. It's overkill. Like if you're gonna do rock crawling somewhere in the woods, sure. But otherwise, 35 is just not. Because the bigger the tires you go, the more stress you put on absolutely everything, all the mechanical components. And it's just gonna wear out quicker, and you're gonna be dumping more money, not in your travels, but in constant maintenance. And this is fuel salt rims. I don't think they produce those anymore, but I like this design. So because of a heavier load in here, I also had a heavy-duty Hellwick sway bar installed, and this rod here. Basically what it does is when you do turns in city driving or whatever, it does something like 15% decrease in your tilt of the truck. So it really helps. Okay, so in here I got my wardrobe. I basically have my luggage case always permanently here, so even if I'm not on a big overland trip, I have probably a week's worth of clothing here, so I don't need to go home and change things. My water jugs, so total I carry maybe, what is it, 40 liters I think. All right, so all my solar setup is connected to this MPPT solar controller. It's kind of weird how I set it up here, but it works for me. The wire is running through the hood and console and right over here. In here I actually have several types of sensors because, well, modern truck. And I had one sensor fail once on me, and it took me 2 days to get out of a bush and then fix it. So I basically asked mechanics, well, what are the most common sensors on Rams that fail? It turned out to be a cam sensor, map sensor, and another one, I think, CO2. So $50, I just carry them with me in case something happens. In case like I'm in Mexico or something, so I don't have to wait, you know, a week for the part to arrive. I can just put it in. This truck is actually sitting on a 6-inch lift. It's zone off-road, 6 in front, 5 in the back, but it's actually more raised. Just to help with the geometry of all this, I have an extension here, an upper control arm, which basically helps with tire wear to prevent that, but it needs lots of greasing. So it's built-in shocks. I started with another type, now it's built-in the back, it's Fox 2.0. Ideally it should be 2.5 Foxes in the back, just because I'm heavy. But my like airbags offset this. You can get this bumper here in Canada. It has to be ordered from States. It's not a big brand, less known, but it looks very slick. Usually full-size trucks have ugly, bulky bumpers with tubing like this big, and like, thank you, no. This is super slick. So in here we have 12 Smithy built X2O 12.5 pound winch, which is perfect for my weight here. I put in rigid street legal fog lights in here, and they're actually my main illumination source. Like maybe if I switch to LED lights over here, maybe, but this is absolutely amazing. This is what gives me the light. This is the AAV snorkel. It's a little bit of misconception. People usually think it's for water crossing, which it can be, but mainly it's for dust. Like you're traveling with many people in the bush, especially desert, you know, so much dust blowing, usually in the hood when it's lower. It just gets all clogged up after like a weekend or a couple of days of driving. This is a pre-filter version. Usually you would see them as a snake, so they kind of suck in air going forward like that. But again, if it's too cloudy, everything with dust, lots of stuff still gets in. And when people drive through rain, they tend to swing it backwards, so it doesn't get in. This setup, there is a propeller inside. It's covered from elements sitting on the bottom, so it just works perfectly for me. To make the snorkel be really helpful for water crossing, you need to truly insulate things inside, like fuse boxes, that sort of thing, because sure, your intake may be covered with this, but if you go too deep and on modern truck with electronics, you're just gonna get stuck, and you know, it's gonna be a $15,000 repair bill somewhere, not because of engine but because of other things. Alright guys, thanks for checking out my rig. In general, my YouTube channel is about the long distance travels that I do, and it kind of illustrates also that sort of, I call it truck life. But really, I feel more like a van lifer sometimes, and I think Roman in one of his videos mentioned that we should kind of remove that divide, the overland, the van life, all this stuff, because we do the same exact thing. Okay, sure, maybe I'm getting a little bit deeper in the bush somewhere, but it's exactly the same thing. We're looking for water, we're looking for places to poop, all these things. We're in the same wave, basically. Sometimes I do a little bit of truck videos, but mainly it's focused on exactly that, like what is the overland life like, not the over commercialized YouTube channels that don't really portray the reality of normal person travel. There is too sponsored. It's like, you look at this, it's like, oh my god, I can never get there. And you shouldn't, because that's not how reality is. Reality is more like Chrome, more like me, just normal people doing their thing. And this is the advice I would actually mention, that don't focus too much on your rig. It was my mistake in the beginning too, because you get into this new thing and you just look at all these trucks and YouTube, like right now you're looking at this, like, I want that. No, you don't. Probably half of the stuff I have, you don't, because your preferences are probably different from mine. So you just need to start getting out more often. It doesn't have to be ridiculous month trips. Just start going every weekend camping, and as you go, you start discovering the things you're missing basically from your setup, and slowly just get onto it. I recently also shot a video with Overland lady. She's a kind of like a new overland sensation around our area, and we actually go a little bit in this video over focus on your journey, on your experience over your rig, and that video is coming out in a couple of days, so hopefully you guys check it out. Alright guys, see you later. Check me out on Gear Into Adventure. I'm sure you'll find it pretty fun. See ya! See ya!